Hello my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop and welcome to part 5 of the Banjolele build project. Okay, so in the previous episode, what was I doing? Oh, I was test fitting the tailpiece to check for alignment of the strings down the neck and the body. Had a few issues getting the bracket secured on there, but yeah, it seems to be just about right. And as I've said many times before, I do a lot of the fiddly, time-consuming jobs off camera. Like making brackets or spacers, or it's the little jobs that seem like nothing that actually take the time. A lot of fettling involved, and where I had the tailpiece on, and checking the intonation by pulling the bridge back towards the tailpiece, you may remember seeing that it was very close, and it was a bit too close. I mean, with hindsight, I should have extended the necks a little bit more, but it's done now, so I've got to kind of go with the way it is. So I ended up making a spacer to put between the tailpiece bracket and the body, and it made a bit of difference, but I really didn't like the way it looked. It just looked too clunky and amateurish. So I'm actually using that spacer to go on the inside of the body, because glasses. 1 second. To make it fit properly, I had to chop out some of the kerfing. So obviously that's a slightly weak point now. So I don't just want sort of nuts and bolts through there for the tailpiece. Just on its own there. So I'm using that spacer that I made to go on the inside here as kind of like a broad. Washer. Oh god. but made from ply, 3mm ply. To spread the load, or the load of the tension of the nuts and bolts holding the bracket on, so it doesn't try to break through the body. And so to overcome the problem of the angle from the bracket up to the bridge, the string angle, very sharp angle, I went with the other method that I talked about bending the bracket up. So so it goes over the body there, and I bent the bracket up to go towards the bridge, so that it's more of a straight angle for the strings. So that worked out quite well. I mean, I've still got the issue of the bridge being so close to the tailpiece. The issue that causes is it reduces the sound, because really the bridge needs to be not in the centre of the body, but basically between the centre and the back end. And it's a little bit too far back actually. So it reduces the sound a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's still fairly decent volume. So in the background here, you can probably see I've got the other body clamped up. I've made that ring to go around the back, and I've got that gluing on right now and clamping, ready for the next stage of that. But what I'm going to turn my attention to now is repainting or respraying the neck. So you just angle that down a bit and zoom in a little bit, that way. So I've prepared this neck for respraying. I've got it all masked up. I've got the fretboard masked, and all the way around the edges where I put the binding on, and also where the nut's going to go. I actually ended up cutting this channel down a bit, to lower the nut, rather than actually filing the nut down, because these nuts are only plastic, and they're quite, I mean, plastic cuts and files easily, but it's messy, and I just thought it would be better all round to actually lower the channel that the nut goes into. And I've also lowered the bridge. I sanded some off the bottom of the bridge, as much as I could get away with, and then took a little bit off the top of the bridge as well, and recut the slots a bit deeper. So that I'll show all that later on when I put it together. But we're at the stage now of respraying this neck. So I've got my airbrush, and this here is the compressor, just a little compressor. And I've got some paint mixed up, lovely chocolate brown. I think it's the right consistency. It seems a little bit thicker than the last time I did it, but I think the last time I did it, it was just a bit too thin. So I've done it slightly thicker this time. I mean, it needs to be the consistency sort of like milk, liquid, but kind of sticky, if that makes sense. So yeah, I've made up a batch of this. This should be enough to do both necks. And I've got it in this glass jar which has got a lid so that I can just keep it rather than having to throw it away. And when I just come to reuse it, I'll just give it another stir with this stick. So what I'm going to do is use this pipette to put the paint from the jar into the pot chamber, whatever it's called. Okay, it might take a few goes. Actually, not too bad. 2 or 3. Right, not overfill it, because it will spill out the little overflow hole, the breather hole rather. Right. So, I'll just put the cap on there. This compressor's got a handy little carrier to put the spray gun in when you're not using it. It's useful. And it works. Okay, so let me put the lid on that jar. Put that out of the way. So this is the paint I'm using. It's acrylic paint. Comes in these little tubes. I've already used about half of this now. Okay, so just switch the compressor on. It's not very noisy. Turn that plug round. Okay. Right, so I've got a piece of scrap wood here. I'm just going to do a test on here. Seems good. Still getting used to how to actually use this thing properly. Okay, that seems quite good. Right, so let's make a start. So I'm going to do the front of the headstock first. It's not flowing very well. There we go. I don't think I've got this set up right. Don't really know what I'm doing. Try turning that out. I'm going to need to do probably 2 or 3 coats at least. This is not going as well as the last time. Right, well that's the first coat on. Looks very patchy at the moment, but that's kind of how it went the last time, and after 2 or 3 coats it was looking much better. Definitely got the setup wrong on this. What am I doing wrong? I think there's an adjuster inside. Is it that I need to adjust? I'm really not sure. Let's try turning that out a bit. I'm sure that was, this adjuster inside here was further out last time. Okay, let's try that. Maybe a bit better. Not sure. Seemed to go better than this last time, but it's okay. It'll work out in the end. So let me just put that to one side. Let that first coat dry. Then when it is dry, I'll give it a light sanding and do it again. So let's now take a look at this body. Too close now. This out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to take the clamps off this now. It's only been an hour or so, but it should be enough for the glue to have set mostly. So we're doing the time, loads of time. Right, so if I just remove all these clamps. Seems to have glued up all right. I also had a bit of an issue where the whole thing snapped in half in two places, which I had to try and fix, and it's not gone as well as I would have liked, but I can fill those gaps. That shouldn't be too difficult. So that one looks all right. This one seems to have opened up again. I was expecting, to be honest. I mean, it's cutting this ring out of this wood. It's made it fairly fragile. And what I've discovered is that it wasn't one solid piece of wood. It was, 2 or 3 pieces of wood glued together badly. It wasn't me. You know me with my glue joints. Actually, this will be a good opportunity to show you how I can. I'll show you that closer in a minute. But there's a gap there, and it looks a bit ugly. It will need to be filled. So that's the thing on there. Looks rather nice. So the colour has really worked out well, and you can see. Where is it? Yeah, there's a big horrible looking gap there. So I'm going to need to fill that. So what I'll do first of all is just lightly sand that bit down. There's a bit of glue on the outside of it. Oh, let me just show you as well. I beveled the edge, so we've got a nice smooth rounded edge on here. Right, so let me just, actually I'm going to need to do both of these. This one's the worst. Even on the inside. Feels like that's moving. Shouldn't be. Okay, so yeah, I mean you can see there's a horrible nasty gap in there which I will need to fill. Now, the way I do that is, whoops, simple but clever. Somewhere here I've got a little part of this. So in this little pot I've got some sawdust from cutting this wood. And all I need to do is mix a bit of that sawdust with a bit of wood glue, and it will make a homemade filler, which will be exactly the right colour. I mean, you can buy these fillers, but what's the point if you can make it? So let me just get a little bit of this sawdust out. Just put that on there. More than enough. And some wood glue. Now, I'll normally do sort of more or less 50-50, but I'm going to make this a fairly dry mix, so it'll be like 60-40, I guess, mix. Okay, so I've got a little wedge here I'm going to mix that together with. Might need a bit more glue. Let's see. Yeah, that's very dry. So that should be alright. Okay, so just like mixing any kind of filler, where you've got two parts that you mix together, it's really important to mix it very, very well. Now this sawdust is really fine. Powder basically, and as I said, I'm mixing it with the glue here. Now I'll need a little bit of tissue before I start that. So it's not actually exactly the same colour, but it's close enough. And you know, because this whole ring is multicoloured anyway, that's not going to matter. Right, so that seems to be well mixed now. So I literally just use this wedge just to press that into the crack. All the way around. Make sure you press it right the way into the crack. Otherwise, you know, when it dries, it will shrink, and then you'll still have a gap. Okay, so I'll just wipe off the excess. Oh, I made a mess of that. I can always sand it back afterwards anyway. Okay, so that's it done. I mean, you know, it still looks a bit of a mess because it will need to dry and then be sanded, but that's that crack filled. I've got to do the one on the other side as well. Actually, that one's a lighter colour, but it really, really doesn't matter. So exactly the same process. Squeeze it into the, or press it into the crack. I mean, not only will it, you know, disguise and hide the crack, but it will strengthen it as well, because I'm effectively putting liquid wood into that crack. And, you know, with this wood glue as well, which is really, really strong and really good, that will be nice and strong. Yeah, that's it, done. So, yeah, I just need to leave that to set and dry, and then I'll sand it back. Job done. Okay, so that's where I'm going to leave this video. So I'm going to, you know, continue painting that neck off camera. You can see how I'm doing it. I'm probably going to have to play a little bit around with the settings of the airbrush, because it's not going quite. I think it might be that it's too thick. I thought last time it was too thin, but maybe that was just right. So I'm going to water it down a little bit and try that, and it should be good. So this project's coming along nicely. Hope you're enjoying watching as much as I am making these videos and this project. If so, please leave a thumbs up and a comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, yada yada yada, and we will see you in part 6. In the meantime, look after yourselves, look after each other. Peace out.